First contact deception. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the command deck viewport of the colony vessel Artemis, gazing at the azure and emerald jewel of Proxima Centauri b, humanity's first extrasolar settlement. After 3 years overseeing the colony's defense forces, the planet finally felt like home. Watching the sunset cast purple shadows across the settlement's gleaming domes, she allowed herself a rare moment of pride. "Captain," Lieutenant Keller's voice broke through her reverie. "We're receiving something unusual on the deep space arrays." Reyes turned, noting the tension in her communications officer's posture. "Define unusual, Lieutenant." "It's not human, ma'am." The command deck fell silent. Humanity had ventured to the stars expecting to find other intelligent life, but in 30 years of exploration, they'd discovered only primitive organisms on distant moons and planets. Nothing that built spacecraft or transmitted signals. "Show me," Reyes ordered, crossing to Keller's station. The display showed a series of mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, basic physical constants, interspersed with simple pictographs. Universal mathematical language, designed to be understood by any technologically advanced species. "When did this start coming in?" 20 minutes ago, Captain. It's broadcasting on multiple frequencies." Reyes studied the sequence, her pulse quickening. "This is first contact protocol. Someone's deliberately trying to communicate." "There's more," Keller said, bringing up another screen. The message repeats, then transitions to these images. The new pictographs showed bipedal figures, presumably the message senders, under attack from larger, more fearsome entities. The imagery was crude but unmistakable, a distress call. "Analysis suggests it's coming from the Epsilon Eridani system," said Commander Park, her executive officer. "That's only 10 light-years from here." Reyes straightened, her military training taking over. "Alert Earth Command. I want every scrap of data on this transmission analyzed, and ready the Artemis for departure." "Captain?" Park questioned. "Those are mathematical constants followed by a clear distress signal," Reyes replied. "Someone out there is asking for help, and they're speaking a language designed for interspecies communication. This isn't random cosmic noise." Within hours, the message had been transmitted to Earth. The response came quickly: "Investigate, but proceed with caution." The Artemis, originally designed as a colony ship, but retrofitted with military capabilities after the Mars conflict, was the closest human vessel to the signal's origin. 3 days later, accompanied by 2 military escorts that had been stationed at Proxima, the Artemis dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, sensors detecting multiple artificial structures in orbit around the 4th planet, reported Lieutenant Commander Chen, the science officer. Also picking up spacecraft in motion, small vessels, likely civilian transport. "Any signs of combat? Anything that would explain the distress call?" Reyes asked. "Negative, Captain. The system appears peaceful." Reyes frowned. "Broadcast our first contact message on all frequencies. Let them know we're responding to their distress signal." The waiting lasted only minutes. A transmission arrived, containing more mathematical sequences followed by landing coordinates on the 4th planet. The message ended with imagery showing their species: slender, graceful beings with large luminous eyes and flowing, tendril-like appendages. "They're beautiful," Keller whispered. "Beauty is no guarantee of benevolence, Lieutenant," Reyes cautioned. "Prepare a shuttle, Commander Park. You have the Artemis." "Captain, regulations strongly advise against the commanding officer leading first contact missions," Park protested. "Noted, Commander," Reyes replied with a tight smile. "But this is first contact with an alien civilization. I need to be there." The shuttle descended through wispy lavender clouds to a sprawling city of crystalline spires and flowing architecture that seemed to defy gravity. They landed on a platform extending from what appeared to be a central administrative building. Waiting for them was a delegation of the aliens, the Zenth, as they soon introduced themselves. Up close, they were even more striking. Tall, willowy beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their movements and emotions. Their large eyes contained no pupils, just swirling patterns of silver and violet. "We welcome humans of Earth," said the foremost Zenth. Its melodic voice translated through the AI system Keller had programmed with the mathematical language from their transmission. "I am Eliax, first speaker of the Eridani Conclave. Your swift response honors us." Reyes stepped forward. "I'm Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth Confederation. We received your distress signal and came to offer assistance." Eliax's skin rippled with blue patterns, an emotional response their translators couldn't yet interpret. "Your arrival brings hope to our people. For 3 cycles, we have suffered attacks from the savage raiders." The Zenth led them to a vast chamber where holographic displays showed recordings of attacks on Zenth outposts. The aggressors were massive, hulking creatures with dense musculature and thick armored skin, wielding primitive but effective weaponry. The Crawl, Eliax explained, evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme radiation and atmospheric toxins. Their bodies are built for survival in the harshest environments, what your language might call Deathworlders. They discovered space travel when they salvaged one of our research vessels. Instead of communication, they chose violence. The recordings showed Crawl forces overwhelming Zenth defenders, destroying infrastructure, and taking resources. The Zenth, with their fragile physiology, were no match for the Crawl's brute strength and aggression. "Our civilization has known peace for millennia," Eliax continued. "We lack the capacity and knowledge for warfare. When we detected your transmission from Proxima Centauri, we recognized kindred spirits, another species that values cooperation and peaceful exploration." Reyes watched the recordings carefully. Something felt off about the Zenth's narrative, but she couldn't place what was bothering her. The Crawl certainly looked fearsome, but their attacks seemed oddly selective and coordinated for mindless savages. "How many Zenth have been killed in these raids?" she asked. Eliax's skin flickered with patterns of green and gold. "Remarkably, few. The Crawl seem more interested in our resources and technology than outright slaughter, but they have taken hundreds of our people captive, their fate unknown." Over the next 2 days, Reyes and her team studied the situation while communicating with Earth Command. The decision came quickly. Humanity would help the Zenth. The Earth Confederation dispatched a battle group, 3 cruisers and support vessels, which arrived within a week. Admiral Hassan of the ECS Indomitable took operational command of the human forces, working closely with Zenth leaders to develop defense strategies. Intelligence suggested the Crawl were massing for another major raid. Meanwhile, Reyes found herself increasingly troubled by inconsistencies in the Zenth narrative. During a tour of a reclaimed outpost that had been attacked by Crawl forces, she noticed something strange. "The damage is selective," she commented to Lieutenant Chen. "Look at these systems: power generation, water purification, agricultural sections, all carefully disabled, not destroyed. The living quarters were barely touched." "Maybe they want to preserve what they can use," Chen suggested. "Or maybe they're trying not to hurt anyone," Reyes countered. In the outpost's communications center, Reyes made another discovery. The Zenth translator had categorized a Crawl transmission as aggressive threats, but when she had the Artemis's AI analyze the sound patterns independently, the results were startling. "This isn't a threat," she told Commander Park later in the privacy of her quarters. "Our AI detects patterns consistent with negotiation, not aggression. The Crawl were trying to communicate." Park frowned. "Why would the Zenth lie about that?" "Don't know," Reyes admitted, "but I intend to find out." Her opportunity came 3 days later when sensors detected a small Crawl vessel entering the system. Admiral Hassan prepared to engage, but Reyes intervened. "Admiral, I request permission to attempt communication before we attack." "These creatures have been raiding peaceful settlements," Hassan objected. "The Zenth evidence is clear." "With respect, sir, I believe there may be more to this situation. The evidence isn't as clear as it appears." Hassan hesitated, then nodded. "You have 1 hour, Captain. If they show any signs of hostility, we'll open fire." Reyes had the Artemis broadcast a simple mathematical sequence, similar to the one used by the Zenth, but with human numerical patterns. To everyone's surprise, the Crawl vessel responded immediately with a perfect continuation of the sequence. They're not primitives, Chen whispered. They understand complex mathematics. The next transmission from the crawl contained crude but recognizable imagery, similar to the Zenth distress call but with a crucial difference. It showed Zenth forces attacking what appeared to be crawl settlements, stripping planets of resources, and leaving devastation behind. Reyes stared at the images, a cold realization spreading through her. We need to verify this independently, she decided. Lieutenant Keller, can we access Zenth astronomical records? I want to see their historical surveys of this system. Hours later, faced with undeniable evidence, Reyes stood before Admiral Hassan and the other ship captains. The Zenth aren't victims, she stated flatly. They're invaders. She displayed her findings. Zenth astronomical surveys from decades earlier showing thriving crawl settlements on 3 planets in nearby systems. Surveys from recent years showed those same planets stripped of resources, their ecosystems collapsing. The crawl aren't raiders. They're fighting for survival against a species that's systematically destroying their worlds, Reyes concluded. And now the Zenth have tricked us into becoming their enforcers. As the human commanders absorbed this information, alarms blared across the fleet. A massive force of Zenth ships had emerged from hiding behind one of the system's gas giants, far more advanced than the civilian vessels they'd shown the humans. All ships, defensive positions, Hassan ordered. The Zenth have played us for fools. And as the human fleet scrambled to respond to this betrayal, the single crawl vessel transmitted again. This time, an offer to help. The truth unleashed to Seer. Bridge of the Artemis erupted into controlled chaos as the Zenth deception unraveled. Tactical displays showed the approaching Zenth fleet, sleek, crystalline vessels that bore little resemblance to the simple transports they'd previously revealed to humans. They've been hiding their true military capability, Admiral Hassan's voice crackled over the fleet-wide channel. All ships prepare for combat. Wait, Captain Reyes interjected. The crawl vessel is hailing us again. The view screen displayed a massive hulking figure, a crawl warrior, its leathery skin covered in natural armor plates, yellow eyes gleaming with intelligence beneath a heavy brow. When it spoke, the translator struggled momentarily before converting the rumbling sounds into English. Humans of Earth, we are Crawl. You have been deceived. The creature's voice was deep, resonant. The Zenth are not victims. They are conquerors who strip worlds bare and move on. We fight to protect our homes. Admiral Hassan joined the communication from the Indomitable. How do we know you're telling the truth? Admiral, Reyes cut in. I've already verified parts of their claim through the Zenth's own astronomical records. The Crawl had settlements on multiple worlds that are now ecological ruins. The Crawl commander, who introduced himself as Vorax, nodded his massive head. The Zenth pattern is always the same. They appear with messages of peace, establish outposts, then begin stripping resources. When the native species protest, they call them savages and destroy them. Captain Reyes, came Eliax's melodic voice as the Zenth leader opened a channel. These creatures are manipulating you. Their primitive minds are capable of cunning deception. Reyes fixed the Zenth with a hard stare. Then explain why your own stellar surveys show thriving crawl worlds that are now dead husks. Eliax's skin rippled with dark patterns. Resources must flow to those who can use them most efficiently. The crawl waste potential. We bring order and purpose to chaos. By destroying entire civilizations? Hassan demanded. Lesser species must make way for higher evolution, Eliax replied coldly. We hoped humans would understand this fundamental truth, that the universe belongs to those advanced enough to claim it. Join us, and Earth will prosper beyond your imagination. Hassan's expression hardened. Captain Reyes, coordinate with the Crawl. All human vessels, defensive formation Delta. We were called here under false pretenses, but we will not be party to genocide. The Zenth fleet accelerated, their crystalline ships catching the light of Epsilon Eridani, transforming into shards of deadly radiance. They're targeting our engines, reported Lieutenant Commander Chen as the first salvos streaked across space. They want to disable, not destroy. They still think they can convert us to their cause, Reyes realized. Or capture our technology. The battle erupted across the system. The human vessels, built with the hard lessons of the Mars conflict, were sturdy and well-armed, but the Zenth ships were faster and armed with energy weapons that human shields struggled to repel. The single crawl vessel, despite its primitive appearance, proved surprisingly effective, using the system's asteroid belt for cover while launching precision strikes against Zenth formations. Vorax, Reyes hailed the crawl commander. We need to coordinate. Are there more crawl forces nearby? 3 battle groups are hidden in the system's outer reaches, Vorax replied. We expected Zenth treachery, but lacked sufficient forces to defeat them. Your arrival changes everything. As the human fleet and the single crawl vessel fought a desperate holding action, Reyes developed a daring plan. While Admiral Hassan's forces kept the Zenth occupied, the Artemis would slip away to rendezvous with the hidden crawl fleet. This is our one chance, she told her crew. If the Zenth have done this to the crawl, they'll do it to humanity once they've established themselves. We need to stop them here. The Artemis disengaged from the main battle, using a gas giant's magnetic field to mask their departure. Following coordinates provided by Vorax, they navigated to a barren moon orbiting the system's outermost planet. There, hidden in deep craters, waited the remaining crawl fleet, vessels cobbled together from salvaged technology and native ingenuity, crewed by warriors who had lost homes and families to the Zenth expansion. Vorax's second-in-command, a female crawl named Therax, greeted Reyes when she shuttled to their command ship. Despite her intimidating appearance, standing nearly 8 feet tall with natural armor and powerful limbs, Therax's manner was dignified and measured. The Zenth have destroyed 17 of our worlds, Therax explained, leading Reyes through their vessel. They come with promises of cultural exchange, establish outposts, then begin extracting resources. When we object, they portray us as violent primitives to any passing species who might help us. The crawl ship's interior revealed surprising sophistication. Not the crude environment of savages, but a functional, practical design that reflected a culture adapted to harsh conditions. In one chamber, crawl children were being taught mathematics and science. In another, artists worked on intricate carvings. Your people aren't what the Zenth described, Reyes observed. Therax made a rumbling sound that the translator interpreted as bitter amusement. The Zenth believe their aesthetic beauty reflects moral superiority, because we evolved on a high-gravity world with radiation and toxic atmosphere. What they call a death world, they consider us inherently savage. On Earth we have a saying, Reyes replied, never judge a book by its cover. Together, human and crawl strategists developed a battle plan. The crawl's knowledge of the system and the Zenth tactical patterns combined with human military technology created a formidable alliance. When they returned to the battle, they found Admiral Hassan's forces still holding, though several ships had sustained damage. The arrival of the full crawl fleet shifted the balance decisively. The Zenth, confronted with the united human crawl force, attempted to withdraw, but the Allies had anticipated this move and positioned forces to cut off their retreat. Aliax, Captain Reyes hailed the Zenth leader. Your deception has failed. Surrender your forces. The Zenth commander's skin had turned a deep, angry crimson. You align yourselves with animals against your evolutionary superiors? The Zenth have terraformed 100 worlds, built civilizations that have lasted millennia. The crawl are barely out of their caves. Yet they understand something you don't, Reyes countered. That true civilization isn't measured by technological advancement, but by how you treat others. The final battle was brief but intense. The Zenth, realizing defeat was inevitable, fought with desperate ferocity. 2 human vessels and several crawl ships were lost before the remaining Zenth finally surrendered. In the aftermath, as crawl and human medical teams treated the wounded of both sides, Reyes stood with Admiral Hassan, Vorax, and Therax on the observation deck of the Indomitable, looking out at the Epsilon Eridani system. We've contacted Earth Command, Hassan informed. The crawl leaders The Confederation is extending formal recognition to the Krull Coalition as a sovereign interstellar power and condemning Xenth aggression. Vorax's expression remained solemn. The Xenth Empire spans dozens of systems. This defeat will not stop them. It may even accelerate their expansion as they seek to prevent other species from allying against them. Then we'll face that challenge together, Reyes said firmly. Humanity sought other intelligent life among the stars, hoping for peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture. Instead, we found both the worst and the best of what sentient beings can be. Tharax turned her yellow eyes to Reyes. Our legends speak of a time when different species would unite against the darkness. Perhaps these legends weren't just stories. In the days that followed, human and Krull representatives began formal diplomatic relations. The Xenth prisoners were confined to one of the system's moons until their fate could be determined. Several insisted that the Xenth leadership had misled them about the Krull, suggesting divisions within Xenth society that might be exploited. Earth dispatched additional vessels and diplomatic personnel to Epsilon Eridani, which was quickly becoming the center of a new interstellar alliance. Scientists and scholars from both species eagerly shared knowledge and technology. Captain Reyes, standing once more at the viewport of the Artemis, watched as Krull and human engineers worked together on a joint defense platform. She reflected on how close they had come to making a terrible mistake, becoming unwitting accomplices to genocide. "You're troubled," observed Commander Park, joining her. "I'm thinking about first impressions," Reyes replied. "We almost judged an entire species based on their appearance and another's description. But we didn't," Park pointed out. "You followed your instincts and looked deeper." "Perhaps that's humanity's true strength," Reyes mused. "Not our technology or our adaptability, but our willingness to question, even our own assumptions." As if to emphasize her point, a shuttle passed by the viewport carrying a mixed group of human and Krull scientists to a research station where they were studying Xenth technology. Former enemies working together to build something new. "We came to the stars expecting to find either paradise or monsters," Reyes said quietly. "Instead, we found ourselves. All the capacity for both creation and destruction that sentience brings, just wrapped in different forms." The Artemis's communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. Long-range sensors had detected signals suggesting Xenth reinforcements might be en route from nearby systems. Reyes straightened, her moment of philosophical reflection giving way to resolute determination. "Alert Admiral Hassan and the Krull High Command. If the Xenth want a war, they'll find humanity and the Krull standing together." As she gave orders to prepare the Artemis for possible combat, Reyes knew that humanity's first major interstellar alliance had been forged not through careful diplomacy, but through battlefield trust, each species seeing the other's true character, revealed under fire. The Xenth had sought to manipulate humanity's compassion, never realizing that the same empathy that drove humans to answer a distress call would also lead them to recognize the truth behind the facade. And as the Human-Krull alliance prepared to defend their newfound friendship against the coming storm, the stars themselves seemed to bear witness to a fundamental truth: that understanding transcends appearance, and that true strength lies not in domination but in connection. The Deathworlders, human and Krull alike, would show the galaxy what beings forged in adversity could accomplish when they stood united.